And so please describe to me what the aesthetic look is exactly.
More like this guy here.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and bring
Oh wow, you really have to come in here?
like this guy here.
Is this
No,
is this really happening? He met the other guy behind you, bro. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm right into that bad boy.
You can stay right there, behind the camera, behind the camera. No, see now you got me jealous now.
That's okay.
That's not
no,
fair.
but you're more in the category like Lou Ferrigno, Arnold, okay?
My man. Yeah. Arnold Ferrigno. Huh?
Okay.
Aesthetic. That's great, partner. You two ever go out place everything in its proper place?
That does not make sense, but we usually do go. We head to Kroger's, and we work.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lady waiting for me back home also. She has the most beautiful scrotum. Oh, God. And when she sings, she sounds just like a puppy dog. How do you nail a photo?
Just gotta get in the mode. You gotta talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes.
Talk with your eyes. You
Okay,
gotta
so
have the eyes.
can you show me a little bit of something, like to this camera? I would love to know how to do this. I just want to know.
Well,
How
I
do you do it?
mean,
Teach
the
me
smile,
something.
You can get the sexy eyes. Then you know you gotta get the smile going on some shoes, but.
Wait, hold up.
You got.
I gotta
when it's
try
time,
this with
when it's
Hold
time
on.
to laugh,
I gotta try
you
this
gotta
with
think
you.
of something funny
All
and start
right,
laughing.
do it again. Do it again. How do you do it? Teach me.
Sexy eyes.
The sexy eye.
This is sexy eyes right here.
Smizing?
Smile.
So you're smizing.
Smile.
Okay.
And then you gotta get the.
No, I look like I need to take a poop or something.
Each words were like little toy guns. No sting, no hurt, no one, just a bang, bang. Right?
Is that it?
Yeah, it's something like that. Just a bang,
Toy
bang,
guns.
rolling off your tongue.
Toy guns.
It's no smoke, no
Bang, bang.
bullets.
Water guns. All right.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Pascal Show. Man, I hope you guys are having a good one. You guys are having a good, positive, and motivating Monday night. I know that we just had a show this morning and everything, and there's a lot of stuff that we talked about. So if you missed this morning, go check it out. Don't leave yet. Watch it after the show, after this one. You're going to want to stick around for this one for sure. We do have somebody very special in the house, and we will jump into that and jump into that conversation with this wonderful individual here very, very soon. But I just wanted to say really quick, if you haven't done it yet, go follow me on Twitter, The Pascal Show, all one word. Instagram, go hit that follow button on my Instagram. And I got to be honest, I've had a very productive day. It's been very busy. For those of y'all who are wondering, what did Pascal do today? Well, here it is. I did a lot of stuff. There was a lot of things going on. Stayed fairly busy, recording a few things. I finally gotten into the studio and recorded some music. So I got something coming out later on this week that I'm very excited about. We're going to have some fun, finally go and do some stuff, get back to being productive up in this piece, man. But anyway, we got to jump into this. As I told you, I was going to have somebody very special on the show. All right. This woman is the weekend anchor and a news reporter for News Channel 5 right here in St. Louis. Please welcome the very talented Morgan Young to the show. What's up? How you doing, sweetheart?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on. First off, thank you for being on the show. I got to be straight funky. It has been hard to get you on the show, and it feels good to finally get you on the show, man. It took a minute, man. It
did. I appreciate you being flexible. Our schedules are always moving like this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I got to ask you, like, how does that work? What is your schedule like? I'm just curious, like, for someone who is anchoring in the weekends and then you're also doing reporting. So you might be on location covering a story or something like that. How crazy is your schedule, your life schedule right now?
So as far as the weekend anchoring goes, that just is like a funny way of saying, like, I work weekends. So my weekend technically is Wednesday and Thursday. So I am off Wednesday and Thursday, which is kind of where the complication comes in. And then I always work evenings. So I come in at about 2:30, and then we'll stay till about 10:30, 11, depending on what day of the week it is, depending on the show. And it's news. So everything you think you're having a really smooth day, and then something happens and you have to go to it, which I guess is where the crazy part comes in. But yeah. We love it. You have to love it to do it. So
yeah, because I would always wonder. I'd be just consistently wondering how do you stay afloat? You know what I mean? How do you stay with it and keep the energy going? Because I could see it being very, very taxing. Just 1 minute you're talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden something breaking happens, and you got to go and chase that story. I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, how crazy is that?
Everything over the past few months has been so different because of the way that we have to do our jobs with COVID-19. That's been the big shift for us. But I can say pre-COVID-19, it is crazy, especially living in a place like St. Louis where there's always something happening all the time. You have to be flexible. Yeah. You fall in love with these stories. You can spend 6 hours working on a story, and then at 9 o'clock something happens and you have to go, and nobody may ever see your story. Yeah. So you have to just be flexible, and you have to be understanding and understand that we're doing a service. And you may think that your story is a big deal, but if something is a bigger deal, sometimes you have to let it go.
Wow. Okay. So like you might be going after some big interview or some big story, and then something might just knock that out of the way? Like you might have something huge planned, you know?
So if it were like a crazy huge interview, it may not run that specific night. It may be held for the next night. You just have to, I think the hard part of that is like switching your mind focus. I think there was one day that I thought I was doing a story about a farmer's market, and I was really excited about that at my last market. And I had all these beautiful shots of tomatoes, and I thought it was going to be good.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a tornado. There was something that happened, and no one ever saw my tomatoes. No one ever saw my farmer's market story, but I knew it happened. So that was good. But, you just have to be flexible, willing to move.
Yeah, I mean, were you able to maybe put it on to like online or put it on?
It went on.
It went online.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so interesting. And then how do you usually like get the story? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you getting assignments, or are you finding the assignments and then putting that to your director or your producer, and then they go, yeah, go get it? Or are they going to, and they're going, okay, you're going to go and you're going to cover the big Twinkie story today. You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? I'm sorry. I feel like it's like a scene from some like Superman or something like that, Lois Lane or something like that. But I'm just curious, like, how does that work?
Actually, it's a combination of both. Sometimes the story, kind of brings itself to you. Obviously, COVID-19 is always a story that we're working on. It's not something we have to go searching for. It's here. The data is here. The characters are here. The change of this thing, comes every day. But typically, and actually every day, we do have a pitch meeting where you do have to come with ideas. And so as reporters, we're all working on developing sources, building, community relationships, having people that will reach out to us if something's really bothering them or something great is happening, or just kind of keeping an ear to the ground in your community and know what's going on, because every day you do have to come with ideas. Sometimes you get to do the idea that you pitch. Sometimes there's a bigger story. And again, sometimes you spend your day working on a story, then something else happens. You kind of just move with the ebb and flow of what's happening.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe there's not a lot happening and you get to work on something you're really passionate about, or a really community focused issue. So It really just kind of depends on what's going on. But we do definitely have an editorial process where we present what's going on, what we've heard about, and then have a really in-depth conversation about what's going to work for our audience on that day.
That's what's up. I mean, because it just sounds very active. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just got to be on the ball, always going. But being an anchor, I feel, would be a little bit different from being on the location following those stories type of deal. Is it a little bit less stressful? Is it less action packed as an anchor, or is it more stressful?
I think in general, on a normal day, it's definitely less action packed, if you will. You are in studio, you have to work with your producers and kind of put the show together the right way, the way it should be. And, you go through and you make sure it sounds the way you want it to, but it's definitely not the same labor, if you will, as going out and shooting a story and putting it together. What I always tell my mentees is that, a lot of people coming up in the business want to be anchors because, they sit there and they're at the desk, and, a majority of the time it's pretty chill. You kind of read what's happening. Sometimes there's breaking news, but I would say like 1 to 2% of the time something pops off and you don't have a script and you have to figure it out. So I would say those are the moments where, you're not really a teleprompter reader. You have to go back to the fact that, yes, I am a reporter and we have to figure this out. And whether you know what you're saying or not, you're on TV. So say something and and make it factual.
Yeah. Try to, and hope and pray, do the Hail Mary type of situation. Just hope that it lands into something logical and is factual. Well, let me ask you this, like real talk, like what is the most terrifying moment you've ever experienced on camera, live? I'm just curious.
Oh, well, I've had two. One recently because, everything that's changed with us. So we typically have a PA who runs our teleprompter for us. Yeah. Everyone's been out of the building. I think right now there are 4 people in the building. One of the people that left was our PA. So we've had to start running our own teleprompters. And there was a show when we first started doing that where I'd never done it. It's a terrifying little rolly ball that's on this thing that's very temperamental. If you touch it, it's obedient. Like, it's that bad child in the family that's spanked all the time. That's the ball on the teleprompter. And I hit it one time and I was watching, like the words were just going so fast. It just looked white. I couldn't see anything. And I just had to laugh because I just didn't know what to do. So there was that. And then one time, my last market, there was a tornado that came and really did some severe damage to a town that we covered. And I was a solo anchor. I was like 22. And I had never do what we call wall-to-wall coverage. And that's when you are on air and there's no commercial breaks. Yeah. And it was just me, meteorologist, and we were on air for 5 hours. And, you know, you kind of get into a groove. But at first I just sat there and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm going to do. So that was scary. But you figure it out.
I mean, like, because here's the thing. I mean, obviously, you know, you've been doing it for a while. Obviously, you've been, you know, the weekend anchor on News Channel 5. That's a really big deal. Congratulations. Congratulations. But also at the same time, like, do you ever get, like, aside from dealing with the roly-boly thing or, you know, for the teleprompter or being, you know, on camera for 5 hours, I mean, do you ever have those moments of like, oh my God, like I'm about to be on camera type of thing? Like, or is it something that you just get used to after some time?
I think you definitely get used to it. I wouldn't say that I get nervous to go on camera. I do think, because I'm still somewhat new in my career, that when there's a really big story, I feel nervous about the responsibility that comes with that, because you know you are responsible for giving this information to people who are at home who aren't going to know unless they hear it from you. And so, you know, I take that seriously and I take it personally. And so when there's something that's big that's happening, you just want to do it justice and you want to serve people the best you can. So I think the times that I get nervous is when, you know, it hits me that you haven't been doing this as long and you need to make sure that doesn't show and it's not an excuse. So
no, I mean, that's really interesting, because for me, I feel like I would always be constantly worried about losing my job. I don't know. I feel like I'd be worried about like, I feel like I'm going to flub up on a word or something like that. And suddenly, you know, thanks, Pascal. It's been real. You know what I mean?
No.
Just saying. You know what I mean? But let's go all the way back. Let's go back to when you first got started and everything. When did you realize that you wanted to be on the news?
I was in college. I like a lot of people who go to college, I went to Mizzou. I'm from Texas, but I came to Missouri to go to Missouri Journalism School. And I thought I wanted to be in magazine. I thought I wanted to be a producer. I thought I wanted to be a social media journalist, everything except for an on-air news reporter, like every other thing. I got to, I think, my junior year, and I had a teacher who just said to me, I really think that you should go after this. You should do this. So I did a semester of reporting. I did a story I was really passionate about. And I realized that if you do this job correctly, you can really make a difference for people. And I really fell in love with that. I know that sounds very cliche, but that's kind of, you know, that made my heart beat a little bit faster. And that made me realize that that's something I really care about. So I kind of really dived into that, if you will, my senior year of college, and started applying for TV jobs. I got my first TV job in Montgomery, Alabama. Woo.
Oh, okay. How was that?
Southern.
Well, I mean, go ahead. What were you going to say?
But wonderful.
Oh, but wonderful. Okay. I mean, you know, because I do got to ask you, I mean, as far as being, you know, African-American female, a black female in this game, how hard is it for you to break through? You know, how hard is it for you to get them to, you know, for producers or news stations to actually take a serious look at you? You know, because I can only imagine that I'm sure there's I hate to say it, but maybe there's a quota that they have to make or meet, or they don't want too much of, you know, the people of color, you know, so on and so forth. So what was it like just trying to break through and, you know, get out there to get a job like the one that you have now?
I feel very blessed with the way timing has worked for me, because I feel like right now and over the past few years, it's actually been a really wonderful time for young Black journalists to come into the business, because I think what's happening slowly but surely, more slowly than it should have, there are newsrooms all over the country that are realizing that your newsroom is supposed to represent your community. It is supposed to look the way your community looks, whatever that may be, because people should be able to see themselves. No matter what people look like, they should be able to see themselves. They should be able to have their stories told by a diverse group of people. And so you don't want too much of anything. And I think historically, a lot of newsrooms have not had journalists of color the way that they should, and they have not had that representation. And so I think right now it's just becoming less acceptable. It's not socially acceptable. And so I think this has been a really good time for journalists to come into it, because they're needed. We're needed. They need us in these newsrooms. They need, and not even just people of color. They need people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. They need people who can understand different people and get at different levels and tell different stories. And so I will say for me, I've been blessed in the fact that it wasn't very difficult, but I know that is because before me, there were so many women who struggled a lot harder than I did and opened that door and paved the way and created the seat. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's incredible, because I can only imagine how hard it is to, be true to yourself, but still maintain the job, maintain the role. You know what I mean? For a fact, like, and this is something that I kind of talked to you about before we even started. I mean, how much of you can really be out there while still reporting the news? Are you allowed to really show your true colors, like your true self on camera? Or is it something that has to kind of be pushed aside? You see what I'm saying? And it's just the news. It's just the facts,
I think it depends on the story. And it's hard because, I can only speak from working for the past 5 years. I can't, speak on decades and decades, but I think especially right now, and I read an article where a bunch of network reporters were talking about this, and I really identified with it. The ability to, I think there used to be this idea that if you are a Black journalist, you had to be a journalist. You weren't a Black journalist, you were a journalist. And I think right now that's kind of disappearing. We are kind of, I think, in a space where we are allowed to be Black journalists, and we're allowed to say, we will cover the story and we will give you both sides. But I think a lot of newsrooms are coming out and saying, being racist is not a two-sided thing. I think we're stopping this idea that everything has to be two sides and everything has to have, there's right and there's wrong. And I think, a lot of newsrooms are taking those steps into saying, no, this is not right. And we do have Black people who work here, and we are going to let them speak. I know I've been really proud at my station. We've had multiple editorials done by our young sports anchor, Ahmad Hicks, who went on for about 3 minutes about how disappointed he was with our local sports teams for how they responded to the death of George Floyd. We had Art Holliday, who is a legend in the city, speak on it. And I don't know if that is something that we would have seen in decades past. I think it's getting better. Is it easy? No. Do we get the mean messages and emails and messages on Facebook? 100%. Is there extra pressure? Yes, every day. And, you get the side eye from both sides. You get the side eye from people who look like you and side eye from people who don't. And you never really feel like you're winning, and you always feel like you're failing somebody. But, I think a lot of people have a lot of criticism for how our business works and don't know how our business works. So I appreciate conversations like this so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Getting easier, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be hard for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It'll be a thing that will just be forever growing, I guess. As time goes, obviously things are changing right now as we speak in regards to just the atmosphere, the climate that we're in right now. Things are constantly changing. The pendulum is swinging back and forth towards the negative, to the positive, to the negative. I mean, it's swinging all over the place. It's not even going back and forth. This is going, 360. It's insane right now. But I've always been curious as to, someone who is in there telling these, like, reporting these stories. Like, I understand, like, of course, you talk about ice cream and you can talk about how much you love ice cream all day long, right? But when it comes to the hard-hitting facts, the hard-hitting issues that are going on, I can only imagine, like, how tough it is to just be like, this is what I really do truly feel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you feel like that you're reading. I know you guys are reading the teleprompter. You're giving out the news. But then there's that other part of you that's like, I know for a fact that she would read it a different way if she had an opinion about this. You know what I mean? Like, hear the inflection in her voice. She must have an opinion about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, when, and I guess that's the question I have for you. I mean, when do you think is the right time for an anchor, a news anchor or news reporter, to be able to really speak their mind, speak their true opinion about it, whether it is right or wrong,
Yeah.
When is the right time to speak up?
I think that that first conversation has to actually happen not on air. I think that the time for people, for anchors and journalists to speak up is actually in our editorial meetings. I think that is when the most powerful, because you mentioned, reading a teleprompter. Every word that's in a teleprompter is a word that's written by a producer and an anchor. When you're reporting a story, we write our own stories. They have to be proved and read, but we own what we report because we write it. So I think, what I can tell you from a behind the scenes standpoint, a lot of, I would say, failures have been missed because somebody raised their hand and said, no, we can't do that. We can't say it that way. I think a lot of people have missed marks because somebody did not raise their hand and say, no, we can't do it that way. No, that doesn't make sense. As far as being on air and speaking out, it's hard because the number one thing that's important in our business is being credible. People have to believe that when they listen to you, you are giving them the information so that they can make decisions for themselves. And it is extremely difficult because we are in a time where things are legal, but are they right? Yes, that's how things have been done, but what is that doing for us now? So I think everyone is trying to figure out where that fine line is, because it is a fine line. And I think it's starting to shift. I know we've had multiple shows on the weekends where my producer just said, I don't know how I want to end the show, so if you would like to write your thoughts, we'll end it that way. And we've done it that way, which I'm sure 30 years ago was not a thing. So, we have to be grateful for that. It's inching. Are we slow? Yes, 100%. But are we making that change? Are we coming there? Are we trying to? We're trying.
No, you guys are putting the effort in. And honestly, I watch 1005 every morning. Literally, I watch 1005 every morning. So, I know that you guys are putting in the time. You guys are putting in the effort. You are trying to put in, or at least sprinkle in, your voices inside of the news as well. And I understand that. I understand that you guys have to give an unbiased reporting of what's going on in the world. Because honestly, that's what you're there to do, which is just state the facts, Jack, and get straight to the point. And I commend you guys for that. I just, sometimes it's just so interesting when I get you guys on the show, where I get to just talk to you guys and really get to know you guys beyond just the reporting, and it's like, oh, there are opinions. There's more to this person, Oh yeah, of course. And let me ask you this: have you ever had a difficult time or had any issues where you've gone, oh man, I really don't want to. I don't want to report this. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to even cover this story. Has that ever happened?
It's happened. It has definitely happened.
Oh.
I can't say when it happened, but I think it happened.
Okay.
I will say this. I think, the value of having people of different backgrounds, of different situations, is that we all hear things differently, and we hear things through different lenses, and we see things differently.
Right.
And I think in a lot of situations, especially recently, when you have had a certain set of life experiences and you understand how someone can feel because you've been there, it is easier for you to be able to weed through things and understand what is what because you've lived a certain experience. And, it makes it more difficult to treat everything at the same level of fact. Yeah. When you've lived it, so you know better, and you realize that not everybody's lived it, so not everybody knows better. So,
yeah. So how did you get through it?
It's hard because you sit down and you have to ask yourself, like, did we serve anyone today? If we're making it seem, that's hard. You get through it, I think, by realizing that you have to do your part. You have to do your part. You have to pitch the stories that are difficult to tell, and you have to find the people whose voices are not going to be told any other way. And you have to do the work. You have to send the DMs. You have to talk to the people who don't trust the media and explain to them why their stories are important. And, you go to bat for them, and you tell them the best that you can, and you make them relatable. You humanize people that other people don't, and you keep fighting it because it's important. And you won't win every day, and you won't feel good every day, and you won't get nice emails every day, but you understand it's much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And you just hope that it's going to be better for whoever comes next.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And thank you for answering that very difficult question. I know that it could be a difficult one to answer for sure. So in regards to COVID, All right, the wonderful world of the Rona. How have you been dealing with it yourself?
Man, it's hard. Our business has changed drastically. If you watch, you've seen it. Most of our people out of the building. I've actually been in the building the whole time.
The whole time? Really? The whole time?
Yeah. The whole time. It's like I'm on one side of Mark Bush is over there, and we've got a producer who's over there. And, it's a lot of Zoom. I hate Zoom. It's not cute. It doesn't look like we work with these really talented photographers who shoot this wonderful video. I haven't been able to use any of it in months.
I mean, trust me. I miss it just as much as anybody else. I wish I could sit in front of you, like next to you, having an actual face-to-face conversation. I mean, that's where it feels right. That's, you know what I'm saying? It's weird when you have to do everything through a camera, through a lens. And don't get me wrong, it's great when you have to deal with when you're trying to interview somebody that lives, overseas or in another city far away from you. It's great and it's very convenient. But when it's like you're in the same city as me right now as we speak, and we can't even be in the same room at the same time without fear of someone getting sick is just, it's terrible. It's terrible. And it's hard to have those real conversations with people when you're just talking to a screen,
Right. It's the connection. Yeah. We miss the connection. And that's such a big part.
Yeah. So how are you dealing with that? You were just saying that you hate Zoom. Trust me, I'm with you too. It drives me nuts, but how are you dealing with that? How are you getting through it?
I kind of just had to suck it up, honestly. I think I got kind of down at first because that's kind of my creative outlet, working with different video, playing with sound, doing that kind of thing. Making that connection to me is one of the biggest parts of my job that I love. Right. So losing that connection, losing the creativity. Now I'm just kind of like, how can I be creative with documents and old video and Zoom? It's we just gotta work with it. I got stuff like popping out and moving and shifting where it doesn't need to for no reason.
Thinking outside the box as much as you can, keep it visually interesting as much as you can possibly make it happen. I can totally see that, man. I can totally see that being a big problem for sure. I guess I've always wondered how you guys keep it from being so stale. You know what I mean? To avoid the staleness of it, because these talking head type of conversations when you're not physically in the same room with somebody can be very taxing and can really run you down, especially being an interviewer or reporter. So it's like, aside from moving documents and I feel like it's like some throwback Windows 98 type thing, but what are you doing to zhuzh it up a little bit, keep it interesting in the workplace?
It's fun because I think it goes back to a really basic thing that we should always be doing that maybe we've been reminded of at this time, and that's finding the most interesting characters. You mentioned talking heads, and we need to hear from officials, but what a wonderful time to hear from people who are going through different things and gaining things from their spirit. I think people are memorable even on Zoom, and people are interesting, when they tell their stories. And so right now, at least for me, I've been more inspired to figure out who can I talk to that's going to light my screen up today, because it's not going to be me. I can write something beautiful, but no one's going to care unless I bring someone on here who is fascinating and who has so much to add. And, our business is about people, and I think it can get kind of lost. So I think this is a really great time to remember that it's about other people, and they shine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, shoot, Morgan, thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was no. I really appreciate you just taking the time to have a real conversation with me about stuff. I mean, it's like I said, like we were just talking about. It's different when you're doing everything via Skype. No offense to Skype. I mean, shout out to Skype. Without you, we wouldn't have a show. I'm going to keep it straight funky, but I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be a part of the show and and talking with me about everything that's going on. Can you let everybody know where they can find you so that they can follow you, that kind of thing?
Sure. So on Twitter, I'm very, very exotic, very different. Morgan Young, KSDK. And on Instagram, I'm Morgan Young TV. So, yeah.
That's dope.
Very
You're welcome. Oh, you know what? One last question before we head off. Okay, so you went to Alabama, correct? You went to your first job was in Alabama? Okay, so what got you back to St. Louis? And why St. Louis? Why not Texas? Why not back to your hometown?
You know, I am from Houston, and I love Houston, and my family's in Dallas, and I love Texas. But when I was here, I really fell in love with St. Louis and Kansas City. And so I made a little short list when I was in Montgomery of where I wanted to be. And it was one of the 4 major cities in Texas, St. Louis or Kansas City. And things just really worked out well for St. Louis. And I was happy to come back. And I'm here.
Well, I mean, they definitely, certainly love you over there at Channel 5. So, I mean, keep killing it over at KSDK. Seriously, I really appreciate you coming onto the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Much. Anyway, guys, we're going to go into a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
Hey, take off the
Ms. Feinberg, I'd really appreciate it if you would close your legs.
Do you find it distracting?
Power, respect. The festival is crazy in the streets. Deception, the fakers, and leaks. Entertainers and trucking for tweakers and losing their circles and nothing unique. All of us under surveillance. People so feeling they made it. Half of them stumbling around and they faded. They live in the world that's degraded for people that's constantly hated.
But you see how he makes these S's in his body right here? That's where he's hanging on, and then he's moving forward with the locomotion of his ribs. That is classic Missouri rat snake right there. I mean, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab him before he gets into a hole. Now, these snakes are not biters. They won't bite as long as you don't squeeze them. If you just stop them like this, it'll freeze them, and then you just gently pull them back. Now, as long as you don't squeeze them, they won't bite.
Yo, Mike, what's up, man?
Guy? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, so Sugar Fire.
Yeah.
Fully open, right?
Yeah, we're pretty much open. So you can't sit inside yet. Monday you can sit inside a little bit. We'll have 25% of the tables inside, and then we're letting it rip outside.
So I know that there's a lot of people really concerned about staying safe and all that.
No,
so what are you guys doing in regards to that?
Well, we have extra people to clean and rub everything down all the time. Everybody inside's wearing masks. And we have little stickers on the ground so everyone can stay 6 feet apart.
Right on.
The tables are all spaced out, inside and outside.
Sugar Fire, open in full effect right now. They're staying healthy, they're staying clean. Go get you a rack of ribs. Sugar Fire, open right now.
Thanks.
The Fur and Leather Center, providing the highest of fur and leather goods.
All right, welcome back, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and sticking around. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. You know, here it is. Huge thank you, huge shout out and thank you to Morgan Young for being on the show today. I really appreciate her having that conversation with me and everything. I mean, you know, it's I really do miss having conversations and interviews on this show for various reasons. But but the main reason is because I just miss being able to hear stories from other people. There are so many people out there that have so many interesting stories and interesting perspectives about life and what they've seen and what they've experienced and everything. So one thing for sure is that the my interviews and all that with people, special guests and all that will be coming back and being implemented back into the show here starting this week and all. So I just wanted to say that, and she was supposed to be on earlier this morning, but because of work, because of her job, because she's out there telling stories, she wasn't able to do this morning. But she took out some time in the evening to be a part of the show today, and that's what I really appreciate more than anything. You know, she was reliable, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. So big thank you to Morgan Young for being on the show. And, answering those questions, because those were not easy questions to answer. I'll just be completely straight funky on that. But hope you guys are having a good one. And like I said, if you enjoyed the show so far, please hit that like button down below. And if you haven't done it yet and this is your first time checking out this show, crush that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That would really mean a lot. Anyway, thank you, Tanu Vane. I'm glad that you found that interview very interesting. Good evening, Nikki. Good evening, James. Good evening, Ryan Smith. What's up, man? Good evening, Mr. T12. What's up, man? And thank you. Yes, she is a very lovely person and she is a lovely guest. There you go. Thank you, Mr. T12. I appreciate that big time. But anyway, I digress. Well, so here's the thing. We only have a little bit of time left onto the show today. I'm going to be done at, the show's going to be wrapping up at 8 o'clock today. But the phone lines are open. I'm just going to say that right now. So the phone lines are open, 314-766-4581. If you have any questions for me, you want to call in, please call in. Let's chop it up. Let's talk it out. Let's speak on it this evening. Yes, Bryson Jackson, what's up, man? How you doing, my brother, young brother? How you doing, man? I'm hoping you are having a good day. Sorry that I'm just now responding to all you guys. I was just knee deep in that conversation with her, and it was hard to look over at these comments. But I appreciate all the support, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the conversation for sure. Yes. James, 4 million in the morning with COVID. I don't know anymore. I don't even know anymore. What's funny, speaking of COVID, what's really funny, what I really find very, very interesting right now is that even in our state, even in Missouri right now, they were talking about the possibility of shutting the doors, and then now they're not. So I don't even know what to fully embrace or fully see and embrace here, because now they're still just talking about trying to get the doors open as far as schools, trying to get the schooling going. In the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of everyone still getting sick, still getting this Rona and all that, there's still people out here sitting here saying, hey, we got to get the doors open. We got to get our kids to school. We got to get things moving. Now, what is interesting is that they are looking at it in a very interesting way. And this is just in Missouri, y'all. I don't know what's going on everywhere else, but at least in Missouri, they got another vibe going. They got another perspective going on. To the point where it's just like, hey, we're all going to get sick. We're all going to get it anyway, so we got to keep it moving. That's pretty much what it is right now. And I don't know how everybody feels about that, with kids being in school or not. There's been 3 different options. There's option A, everyone stays home. Option B, everyone goes back to school. Or option C, it's half and half. Now, there's a new approach, apparently. There's a new procedure, because everybody was like, well, how are they going to do this half and half thing? So certain kids are lucky enough to go to school and the other kids are not? Well, they've come up with a different perspective or a different approach to it. So instead, they're planning on doing something that I find interesting. It's going to be this. Basically, Mondays and Wednesdays, half the school is going on those days. The other half would be going on Tuesdays and Thursdays, roughly. I don't know what they'd be doing with the Friday, because there's still Friday in there. But you'd still have Tuesdays and Thursdays, half the school is going to class, and the other half is still going home and doing virtual learning. And then same thing for Mondays and Wednesdays. That half that's at home, virtual learning, would be at school, and the kids that were at school on Tuesdays and Thursdays would be at home virtual learning. The only problem is that there's a lot of people who are going to sit there and go, so you're telling me that I can only go to work half of the week, half of the time, because my kids are going to be home half of the time. And I totally understand that, and to Doogie, you're absolutely right. Friday, I guess, would be a day where the teachers would literally, or the school would literally be doing nothing but disinfecting the entire school, which I feel like it's going to be so expensive, because even after class is over, there's a new onset of students coming back in the following day. Say Monday is done. You get the done, blah, 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 social studies, arithmetic, all that stuff, PE, et cetera, et cetera. Then all of a sudden, school's over. What are they just going in and they're just blasting the place with disinfectant spray? Then these kids come back in on Tuesday. New batch of kids coming in on Tuesday, the other half. And then once school's over, they're doing that same thing again. So I don't know. I can see that being so expensive, y'all. So expensive. And that's just me. I mean, to each their own. Hey, in a way, I'm more comfortable with doing option C than option A, which is just kids just going to school. All of them going to school. I'm okay with doing the 50-50, but I can only see how hard it's going to be on the parents, especially those single parent households. That's going to be really hard unless they're all those single parents are working from home. And some single parents, that not all the jobs that they have as single parents are jobs that they can do at home. There are people out there that are professional cleaners, work professionally in the food industry, like somebody who is a full-time bartender to someone who is literally a server, that's how they pay their bills and that's how they survive. So I can only see it being something that it could get really, really messy if they don't play their cards right, unless the single parent households, then they would just make sure the kids go to school every single day. I don't know. But then you look at Fridays. If Fridays is the day that everything gets disinfected, you see what I'm saying? Then still the kids have to go home. All kids are home on Fridays, basically. So that single parent household, that parent has to be home. Unless that kid is old enough to take care of themselves, which there's a lot of those, of course, but then there's the other ones too. So something to think about for sure, Let me read some of yours. Being an at-risk teacher, especially near retirement age, is super risky. Absolutely. I totally agree, Mr. T12. I mean, that's the thing, I heard also, Mr. T, that teachers are suing in Florida. I don't know why, though. I don't know, but like I said, I don't know what they're suing for. If they're suing because they don't want to be put in the classrooms and put in harm's way, or are they suing because they want schools to open? Because here it is. Florida's weird, Mr. T. Florida's weird. It almost seems like opposite day over there. So if you're saying that they're suing, I automatically think they're suing because they want to get things back up and running. That's just me. I think opposite day. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. Comment down below, Mr. T. I'd love to know why they're suing right now, of all things. Michael D. What's up, my brother? Good evening. We can't stop school shootings, but we think we can hinder a virus. What a joke. Yeah, that's the thing. There was literally a quote that was said by Governor Parsons, our Missouri's Governor Parsons, and he basically said, and obviously I am paraphrasing like crazy, but he basically said, all right, looks like everyone's going to get it anyway. They're going to get sick. We got to open up our schools. Kids are going to get it anyway. They're going to go home. They're going to get well, and they're going to be able to get back to school. They just got to deal with it. Pretty much what he said. And so there's a lot of people that feel some type of way about what he said. There's a lot of people that don't want to get sick, period. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't want anybody else that I know get sick. And God forbid any of the children get sick because of being in harm's way. If we can avoid it in some sort of way, we should be trying to find a way to avoid it. Period. If it's possible. If it's possible. And yeah, to Doogie, not to mention breathing all the chemicals. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. It's something that can be, I think, very tough. Oh, they're suing to block the reopening mandate. See, I'm thinking that they're suing because they want to get things moving, because Florida is kind of opposite day down there. So that's surprising to me that they're suing because they want to stop the reopening mandate, which I find very fascinating. That's very unbecoming of Florida, and with all due respect, very unbecoming. But hey, I'll take that. I'm not surprised. You know, well, I mean, I am surprised, but you know what I'm saying. I don't blame them for not wanting to open their doors, you know, opening the school doors. Then it's also the other thing, you know, you put this up, you say, hey, half the school is going to be going to school, the other half is going to be doing virtual classes. And then after that, the next day we're going to flip it. You know, we're going to do 50-50 and then we're going to flip 50-50. And it seems like a fair idea. It seems like a good idea. I'm not knocking it, but I feel thank you, Michael D. But I feel like if they were to do that, half of the days the parents still have to be home. So those two, even so, let's play the idea of both parents are breadwinners. Both parents, it's a dual income family, and they need every single penny to be able to put the clothes on those kids' backs, put food in their mouths, to afford the school books, or you know the school supplies, so on and so on. I mean, you suddenly, once you start taking that all the way out, and you take one of those parents has to sacrifice their income that could be covering the utilities or cover the mortgage, whatever it might be. Now you're putting all that responsibility on one parent. That could be really, really taxing and really hard, especially if that other parent isn't making enough for both to carry the weight. So then you got both parents, you got the kids at home, then you got a parent that has to sacrifice at least half of their job. And then most of the time, most places aren't cool with parents with like somebody trying to do a part-time job rather than a full-time job. Then you got that full-time job gets down to a part-time job. Then you lose all those benefits that you get if it's health insurance and so on. All those benefits go out the window. See what I'm saying? And it's just like this trickle-down effect of more and more things to start causing more and more problems. So it's like, what do you do? And to Doogie's right. There's so many people that are in so much debt. You know, how can they possibly live without the income? Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You know, how could you easily, comfortably do that? Inquiring minds would like to know. It's crazy. And you got to put all that into consideration, and suddenly all that's gone. All those ideas, or all that money that you've been working on and building is gone. And James, I agree, quit living on debt. I get that, but that's easier said than done. Because if you already have debt, you still got to pay that debt off. You see what I'm saying? Even the people that are out there that are working their tails off, working themselves to the bone so that they can say, oh, by 2021, I'm going to be completely debt free. What if that person has that plan and then all of a sudden they get hit at the side of the face with a wrench, you know, messing up their whole plans because of having to be home or having to cut back on hours. Okay. Hey, you're on the mic with the Pascal Show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Pascal?
What's
Can you
up?
hear me?
Yeah. What's your name?
I'm the main man of the show.
Mr. T?
What's going on? Mr. T, yeah, what's going on?
What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Good.
It's hot, but I'm good.
Yeah, no kidding. And you're where again? Where are you again?
I'm in Philadelphia, or outside of Philadelphia right now.
Oh, that's what's up. Yeah, it's hot as hell up there, man. You guys have a crazy heat wave going on.
98 degrees every day, seems like, yeah.
Bruh. Dang. So tell me, what's on your mind, man? Speak on it.
Well, I was calling in about the segment because I'm actually an educator myself.
Oh,
so
right on.
I can
Okay.
speak on the topic. I believe.
Please. I would love to hear your thought on this, man, because real talk, like we are it's a weird time right now. All right. All of it. And there, in a way, there's no right answer. If you really think about it, there is no right answer. But what are your thoughts on it? Where do you stand on this? Should it be like, do you think option C is the best option that I just laid out already? Or do you think it should be like everyone should stay home and call it a day? What are your thoughts?
It's definitely a mixed bag of results. From what I've been hearing, many districts are doing surveys with the public, and including staff, parents, students, and so forth, to get a consensus of what do people actually want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there have been complaints no matter what has been put out there as far as survey results. You know, it ranges from going back fully, like it was in the past, to going back with health and safety precautions,
Mm-hmm.
to being hybrid in a way where you're going to do half in school and half at home, to it being fully at home. So there are many different options out there. And then another option was what I'm hearing now is like a half-day rotation where kids come in the morning, then they leave, another batch come in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is trying to limit the staff to student interactions, really, which is bizarre, but they're trying to keep everyone safe. So if the student changes classes, he can't anymore. There's too many risks, I guess, in the hallway or with different teachers. So they really have their hands tied on student safety right now.
Yeah.
And the bigger districts are screwed because, you know, Philadelphia is huge. So they have, you know, 100,000 students plus. So it's really hard to safeguard the buildings with the constant cleaning of doorknobs and light switches and handrails and elevator tiers. It's just going to be a massive task. I mean, one of my suggestions would be have the kids who are neediest be in school first, in terms of those at-risk students, those historically underperforming students, special ed students. All those students should be in school first, I would say, the priority. And also students in the primary grades should be in school. You can say the high school students to be at home, online. It's easier for them. But those at-risk kids need to be really direct instruction because they're already behind the ball, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really going to be a lot of long-term effects of this. You know, public schools have already historically been underfunded. So, and they get Title I funds based off test scores yearly. So there's been no test scores this past, spring, and there won't be any probably upcoming next spring. So it's really going to be a lot of students who are going to be farther behind than they already are, unfortunately. And I'm closing that achievement gap. It's always been a struggle. It's always been one of the main hitting points. But it's going to be even more drastic going forward.
Yeah.
One thing I can say honestly is we are in an era of the internet.
Yes.
So it's a gift and a curse. So
yeah.
Those parents who can't be home with their students have to really, really dig into the importance of education. And, you see that really tied into the Asian communities. And data shows that those kids are going to excel because the culture of learning is instilled in them and the culture of just, going against the grain in terms of, not really assimilating into American society, but coming here to raise your family out of where they came from and excel. And, the outlook on their lives is you can speak the language and you're going to help mom and dad, progress through the American way. That has to be really, honestly, that has to be, across the board. We need every child and every culture, kid from every culture to really take advantage of this time with the internet to really not waste the learning time on, social media or waste it on video games, but really use the internet to grasp a hold of the weaknesses and really attack those and build up skills that are productive to society. And that's going to really be the testament going forward. Who's going to take advantage of that smartphone, quote unquote?
Yeah.
Who's going to take advantage of the, what they have in their hands in terms of technology and resources and overcome this temporarily, I guess, untraditional, academic world we're living in, in terms of, they have to go and really be independent on their own. Those who want it are going to take it, and those who aren't are going to be left behind going forward.
Yeah.
And this all kind of comes together, in a society right now. Everything's kind of, a big question mark. And, oppression and, diversity or lack of diversity and, and things that all kind of tie together with poverty. It's really going to be interesting looking back. I guess in 5 years, it's been going, wow, from 2020 to 2021.
Yeah.
The whole world has changed. And the kids we see now, are going to be finishing high school soon. They're going to be the ones in public service jobs, the ones in the restaurant serving us through the drive-through. Those kids are going to be, helping us, as we go out and dine and enjoy life. And they won't have the skill set. Yeah. And I think it's really going to be a really contrasting difference in what we as people expect from our fellow members of society, because they won't have the skills. If we don't really, fill in the gaps now and teach them to take responsibility and accountability for their own learning and their own lives, and it's really going to be, really going to be scary, I think.
Yeah.
And I seen this even before COVID, that the contrast in those who want to be great and those who don't want to be great in the classroom, and some, and how much you had to motivate those kids to be great. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful seeing that kid care and put together those skills to be great. But I won't be there as I used to be. I'm going to be distant. So it's going to be hard for me to be one-on-one with that kid in the back of the classroom who's kind of halfway asleep or not wanting them to be there, to kind of motivate him over the internet. That's not what we're worried about as well.
Right.
These kids are going to fall through the gaps.
Yeah, it's tough because, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of things that could backfire. I mean, yes, the internet is amazing, but it is a double-edged sword. There's a pro and there's definitely a con on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to, learning from the internet. It is a means to an end. It is a way to get certain things done, but I can see it being something where kids need to learn social skills. They need to learn how to be around other people. They need to deal with people-to-people things, situations. Not being able to have those things can really can be very detrimental to a child's development for sure. But I keep thinking like, well, if it's only just for something that's periodic, I mean, if it's only for if it's only temporary, if it's only a temporary thing, then, till a vaccine, let's just say, actually does come out, and actually is used, and whether you decide to let your child get vaccinated or not, then they can go back to living their lives and going back to a proper educational the way they used to do, but I mean, I can see it being, both things. Now, the other thing that you said, and this is what you said in the very, very beginning, so I just wanted to jump on this really quick. You said that they were possibly implementing the idea of maybe doing half days, like half the days kids would be there, and then the other half, that half of the school's population would go, and then the other half, the latter half of the day, kids would be in there as well. Like the other 50% of the school would be there. Now, the thing is that I can see that being an issue when it comes to parents, because still, no matter what, those parents still got to go pick them up, because those kids aren't taking school buses. They're not taking public transportation. So say half the kids, regardless, have to somehow get to school and then get picked up. You see what I'm saying? Or get dropped off at school in the middle of the day and picked up in the middle of the afternoon. So I could see that biting parents in the butt in the long run, you know, when you start playing those things out. What parent, what job, what boss is going to be okay with their employee cutting out half their day just so that they can go and pick up their kid or drop them off at school? You see what I'm saying? In the middle of the day. You see what I'm saying? That can be, I think, very, very tough unless the parent is sacrificing their lunch break. You know what I'm saying? But then you got to get the kid, get him home, get him whatever he needs to do, and get to work as soon as possible, because lunch breaks are only, 30 minutes, for crying out loud. So yeah, go ahead, Mr. T.
Yeah, I mean, you made a good point. One thing that you talked about this now was just how things are going to function all around that school system, and we don't know. Trying to accommodate parents or other students who pick up younger kids from school, or nannies, or whatever you have to do. Everyone has to kind of fit in a different schedule to accommodate the school schedule, and everything is connected. So it's going to be really difficult for us to get back to normal, or to have a hybrid kind of system, because it's going to be, someone or a population of people are going to be disserviced by that as well. So there really is no win-win, because we never experienced it before, I think, ever, where schools were shut down for a long period of time as this. So it's really going to be, again, a lot of after effects are going to really be troublesome to our society if the students don't, figure out a way to still use their time efficiently and effectively.
Yeah. I think that unfortunately it's going to have to be either A, which is just everyone stays home, or C, where it's just everyone, we're doing the half and half, 50-50 type of deal. It's just going to be very taxing, I feel, on the teachers. I think it's a lot on the teachers, if you really think about it. I mean, it's them consistently having to, if they did half a day each, 50% of the class type of thing, I mean, that would be almost as if they're turning tables. You know what I'm saying? Like a waiter turning tables. Like they'd have to go sanitize every single table, every single chair, you see what I'm saying? That's just a lot on a teacher, Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, teachers are already wearing so many hats now.
Yeah. And they don't get paid nothing, man. They get paid nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, it's you know what I'm saying? You're going, you know what I mean? Like, not only am I doing this, and this, but now you want me to bruh. Now you want me to sanitize? Bruh. Like, I ain't got time for this. I got to teach. I got to mold these young minds. You know what I mean? What are you going to say?
One more hat. Yeah, I remember in March, my school shut down March 13th. And that day, we were like, all right, or it was like 2:35. Like, it was like, everybody stop what you're doing, grab some cleaner, disinfectant, some trash bags, and get to work. Get all these documents out before 3 o'clock, and it was like a madhouse rush. It was very, very stressful. Because we didn't know what was going on. We had to get everything cleaned up, had the kids packed up to go permanently. Kind of. We didn't really know yet. And have them with their passwords to go online and start learning online on that following week. It was very, very stressful. A lot of kids were confused about what to do. So you can imagine, that last minute, code red goes off,
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot going on. The anxiety that has caused these students and teachers and even parents have, it's definitely been tough.
Yeah, I believe that, man. I mean, and that's the thing, like I said, not only are the teachers already babysitting your kids, but then now they're going to be, not only just molding those kids' minds and, sacrificing their money to make sure that kids get the supplies that they need in certain schools, working themselves to the bone. But then on top of that, now they got to be sanitizers. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
CDC, yeah.
Yeah,
The
CDC up in this
school,
piece.
right?
Yeah, it's like, dang, man, like, yo, that's a lot on a teacher, you know? That's a lot, you know?
Wearing a mask, you know, in a building where there's no AC and it's hot, it's going to be a problem. So those kids who already don't want to be there, imagine having to reinforce wearing a mask.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. You know, I got a comment here. John Boyson on Facebook. What up, John? Thank you so much for the comment. He said, some kids cannot be left at home alone, and you don't want grandparents watching them after they've been exposed at school. So that's a very good point, you know, because grandparents and, grandparents are like permanent babysitters. Let's just keep it straight funky. But then you're putting your grandparents at risk as well. So it's like, you know, you can't really... it's tough.
There's no way to win. There really is no win-win right now.
Unless there was some sort of like a daycare type of thing or an in-house agency that was created that would have like an agency for nothing but au pairs, like nannies and stuff like that, where they can literally come in and they keep an eye on your kid while you are finishing off the rest of your day or something like that. Now, I can see something like that happening where people are constantly getting screened, making sure that they don't get sick or that they don't have anything, you know, they don't have the Rona. That's one thought I've had in my mind where it's like, hey, parents have to go, you know, some parents are saving the world, you know, saving their communities. Some of these parents are working 24/7 all day long. So how are they going to be able to keep an eye on their children?
That's the issue right there.
First
my school
responders.
now is 90% economically disadvantaged.
Yeah.
So, you know, most of the parents are either immigrants or they're single parents working multiple jobs, or some kids are even foster families. So it's very, very tough because these kids depend on routine, and that routine provides them with a safe environment for themselves emotionally and socially.
Yeah.
And that won't be there at all. So there's a lot more outbursts, a lot more breakdowns, a lot more of kids not being productive because they don't have that safety net as before.
Yeah. And you know, it's such a cluster. You know what I mean? It's a cluster F, to be really straight funky, y'all. Yeah. Because there's no right answer. Like I said in the very beginning, there's no right answer to this situation. I mean, yes, we could literally just rip the Band-Aid off and just throw the kids in there and just say, well, we're all gonna get sick anyway, so forget it. You know, you'll get the Rona and then you'll get over it. I mean, that's literally what our Governor Parsons of Missouri, Governor Parsons, saying. He's like, hey, we're all gonna, if they get it, they're gonna get it, and then they're gonna get through it, and it's gonna be fine. Just treat it like it's the flu. And he doesn't care, but.
Wow.
But and I don't say he doesn't care. That's a strong statement. But he's just trying to get things back to normal. He's trying to get things moving, and it seems like the inevitable is the inevitable.
Yeah, that's the pressure. Economics matter over, I guess, education. We would say, in a way, you know, where like Trump said it, and even Minister of Education, Betsy DeVos. I mean, they want school going back full tilt.
Right.
You know, despite the risks. You know.
Yeah. And I mean, and the other thing is I just seen Tanu Vane just said something on here. He said, I don't think masks alone would be sufficient to make a big difference for long durations of sweaty, warm people near each other. And I especially if they are moving a lot and talking loudly. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, here it is. The masks only do so much. I mean, let's just be real. It is almost like theater of the mind. You know, it's definitely a display to make us feel safe. And so that we're not, you know, passing it on. But real talk, is it really, really stopping the spread, you know, 110%? No. But at the same time, it is something that we need to use. It is something that we can use to stop a little bit of it. But if we're in a classroom with all these kids on each other, and these kids, you know how it is, like of a certain age, they don't care. You know, at a certain age.
This classroom is 40 kids, 35 kids.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
This classroom is 35 or 40 kids in one classroom.
Yeah, and then think about it. Those kids who are, let's just say 14, 15 and up, maybe they're a little bit more appreciative and more conscious of their surroundings and their own body. But, you got 14 and younger that are still young, that are just coughing and snotting and, touching their faces and just, being kids. They're being kids. Germs are gonna fly. Let's keep it real. Can I borrow a pen? And they already had the pen in their nose and they're handing it to their friend. I mean, those are things that happen because kids are going to be kids, and that's the inevitable part of it. We're not going to be able to protect every kid, but at the same time, if we can protect a good portion of them, why the heck not?
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, normally, it happens every flu season. We get destroyed. I mean, teachers and students, it goes around in cycles. So this is going to be on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to be really, really difficult going forward. And also think about like subs. Subs are going to like, I'm not coming in.
Yeah.
I'm not doing
hell
so
no.
You can't call out this.
You know how many of those guys are going to be like, nope, I don't even know who you're talking about. They're like, Sam Johnson? I don't even know who you're talking about now. Wrong number. I mean, shoot.
Many subs are retired and they're making $200 a day. And they're like, forget that.
Right. Yeah. And that's. Man. Unfortunately, I got to wrap this up. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like it just seems to be crumbling on both sides, and it's going to be really tough because yes, there are going to be some substitute teachers that are desperate at some point to make money, because at some point the unemployment is going to stop. The stimulus checks that are coming or have come, and that they say there might be another wave of stimulus checks. I mean, here it is. Right. It's only a little bit of money. It only covers so much. It can only last for so long. So at some point, a lot of these teachers and a lot of these people out there that are on unemployment are going to get squeezed off. And they're going to be like, well, you haven't been proving that you've been out trying to find a new job. And so a lot of these teachers are going to be like, man, I'll take it. Whatever you're doing, just throw it at me. I'll do it. I don't care. I mean, that will eventually be the inevitable, which will happen. But I also do worry that what if a teacher does get sick? Are you going to wait? Then you're going to have all students, if they don't have any substitute teachers that are willing to be there, are you going to just clump two classes together? Then you're basically doing half, you're putting 100% of students together again. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, it just keeps crumbling on both sides. And like I said, there's no right answer in this situation, which really, really sucks. And it's unfortunate. But Mr. T, thank you so much for calling in, man. I'm sorry I have to wrap it up today. But thank you so much for calling in and putting in your 2 cents, because it is nice to hear from an educator as well, on this matter.
No problem.
Thank you, brother.
Right.
And I'll be
talking.
Good night. Yeah, you too, brother. All right, man.
Okay.
Peace.
All right, bye.
So there you guys have it. I mean, the thing is that there, like we've been saying, there's no definitive answer. There's no perfect answer to this situation. We look at one way, then there's another blockade that pops up. There's another dead end. And you turn the other way, and there's another dead end over here. There is no dead giveaway of the perfect answer and the perfect choice here. But we're going to continue this conversation tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, of course. I think that there's going to be, I think a lot of people are trying to figure this whole thing out right now. It's going to be going on. I mean, shoot, we're at the end of July right now. We're about to march right into August, and we need to start figuring this thing out. Education, for this fall is very important. At least for the first quarter, we got to figure something out. I mean, I'm at least trying to be somewhat hopeful. Got my fingers crossed and hoping that things will just be will subside and things will start to make more sense over the next couple of weeks and over the next couple months. But anyway, I got to get going, guys. I'm so sorry. Today's a short one, but I extended a little bit longer than I expected to go on. But, I appreciate the phone call to Mr. T12. Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for being on today. That really means a lot. And a big shout out and big thank you to news anchor and reporter Morgan Young for being on the show today. It really meant a lot as well. But anyway, I got to get going. I love all you guys. You guys are amazing. If you haven't done it yet, hit that like button down below and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that as well. I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right. Until then, be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.